a big thank you again to Ronan, who joined us from Jazz and Contemporary Music Performance. As I said, we can answer any questions that you have at studenthelp@dcu.ie if you did only catch the end of it. But now, well, in a couple of seconds' time, I'll make sure I'm right on time for past. We are going to welcome Thomas Dorian into the call, who is a recent graduate of the Bachelor of Arts Joint Honours, and he chose to study English and history. So I'll bring Thomas into the call now. Let me see if this works.
Hello, hello, hello.
Thomas, coming to us live from what looks like a classroom.
Yes, you're very welcome. I'm live streaming from F4 in the beautiful Scullyworry in Dunleer, County Louth.
Is this what it would look like now if I was one of your students tuning into an online class?
It would, but unfortunately we'd be studying a bit of poetry or history. We wouldn't be talking about the amazing things of DCU.
Oh, absolutely. So I'll just say for anyone who has just joined the call to see Thomas, we do have a Q&A function down below. So as we're going through the conversation, if there's anything you want to ask myself or Thomas, please do let us know through the Q&A function. It's your chance to guide this conversation, or otherwise we'll keep chatting. So do ask if you have any specific questions. So Thomas, you are teaching at the minute, but let's rewind. We'll get to that in a while. Will we rewind all the way back to 6th year, Thomas? And where was your head at in terms of courses? How did you end up in DCU?
So I didn't really realise I was going to DCU. I wanted to go on and do primary school teaching at the time. So I had applied for the Bachelor of Education in PATS and in Maynooth and UCD and all over the country, anywhere that was offering it. But I also said, you know what, I'll have a backup. I'll go and do an arts degree, because even my own aunt done the same in PATS, and then she went on and to do her Masters of Education. So as my backup plan, I was to go in and study Irish and English in what was St. Pat's at the time. Mm-hmm. When I first joined DCU, it was the first year that St. Pat's was fully part of DCU. So when I first went to PATS, it was all still the PATS logos, everyone was still wearing the PATS kit. And then slowly but surely over the year, we were all submerged in the DCU community.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's when, for anyone who doesn't know, when basically the campuses mixed together and the university, St. Pat's and DC came together to form entirely DCU, although sometimes there's still a bit of territory there with maybe the primary school teachers versus someone up on the Glasnevin campus, but we're all one big university altogether. So there's a couple of people tuned in and who obviously want to hear about the Bachelor of Arts Joint Honours. Now, as most people are aware, this comes in various shapes and forms depending on what subjects you choose to study, whether you want to do an internship, which I think you might have missed out on. I think they've only brought that in this year, that you can do an internship. Hard luck there. But do you want to tell us a bit about your course that you did, which was you mixed English and history?
Yeah, so I came out, leaving DCU, I left with an English and history degree. But when I went in, I had different subjects. I had English and Irish. Because I loved, I'm really sorry about the lights there.
That's okay.
I'm away from the sensor, sorry. So I really loved Irish at school level, and loved the Gaeltacht. But when I went to DCU, within kind of 2 weeks of the course, I realised that Irish wasn't for me. Even though I had great friends and the lecturers were great, and even my girlfriend, she went on to do Irish the year after. So I met with the faculty chair and said to her, look, Susan, I'm not 100% happy with Irish. What do you think I could go into? So she gave me a couple of different options. So she said, try history. The lecturers there are fantastic. Now, I'd never done history at school. I didn't do it at junior cert or leaving cert. So I had an interest in it. So I said, you know what, I'll do it. And I loved it. But as you said there's loads of different combinations. So some of the subjects there, I've just jotted them down. So obviously English and history that I done. There's also Irish, human development, music, geography, world religion, theology, and philosophy. So there is a couple of them in there that you can mix and match. And even like there's media and the whole lot that you can choose from. And that's what makes it a really nice course. That say for example, my English course, the people I was sitting with, I was sitting with one fella who done Irish, a fella who done geography, a girl who done human development, someone who done music. And even though we were all in the one degree, we all have loads of different talents in that, and we still kind of rubbed off each other, which was great.
Yeah, yeah. So for people, I mean, it's very interesting that you didn't study history at all, and then you ended up enjoying it and then pursuing a degree in it. And if we get into maybe specifics about the modules, I know not all the subjects you didn't study, but for example, what sort of things would you be studying in English and history? English, say, because you must have done it. You must have done it for Leaving Cert. Like, would that be kind of poetry and like the kind of comparative creative writing, or is it kind of a different look at it once you go to university?
You cover sort of the same thing. So the idea behind it is it's like it's the next level up. So for both English and history and really any subject in this degree, it's the next leg up in that field. So you still study poetry, you still study novels and so on, but you look at them all in different lights. So I just have here in front of me some of the ones that obviously some of the stuff has changed since I done it, but just some of the modules that you would do in year one. So your first semester, you will do an introduction to fiction, short stories and novels. You'll do English study skills, creativity and theatrical contexts. So that wasn't something that when I was there, but it sounds like something I'd love to do. Then there's the genre, the tragedy and comedy complex, which is fantastic. And the lecturer that you have for that, when I done it, was Michael Hines, who was brilliant. He had us always in tears, laughing, and he's loads of different insights. So even for that genre, we're looking at tragedy comedy from the Greek times and how that evolved through to Shakespearean, Renaissance, and up to modern day stuff. So a lot of the modules that you'll do in first year and second year, they look at from the beginning of the stuff. And same, there's literature, modern European and American dramas, poetry, how and why we read it. So it's not like people doing the Leaving Cert now, like my poor Leaving Cert students, I'm doing Frost with them. You don't do poets like that, but you'll dip in and out of different styles and you look at the styles of it. So Kit Friart is the lecturer that I had for that. And again, he took it back from the very beginning. Then in terms, and also, sorry, one other one that I loved, I done it in my final year, was creative writing. So you're offered creative writing trade as limited places. So you drop a module, pick up creative writing, and every semester it's offered. And I took it in my last semester. And some students listening, they might currently be doing Bog of Cats for their Leaving Cert. So one of the tutors for that is that author, Marina Carr. Marina is a very famous Irish dramatist, and she was my creative writing tutor.
Wow.
The thing to remember about a lot of these courses is like you literally have the creme de la creme of lecturers, people with proper experience to teach you.
Thomas, just if you don't mind me interrupting for a second, we just had a question come in there about the kind of structure of whatever you choose to do an arts degree. How many of the modules would be optional, or would you have to do every module pertaining to your subject? That's a great question.
Brilliant question. With English, there isn't as much movement until you get to third year because there is specifics in English that you have to focus on to get a well-rounded degree. So like, for example, I'm teaching English now and I'm pulling stuff from all of those different areas. But with history, there's more flexibility. In first year, not so much, because first year it's kind of like the cornerstone of it. But then as you move on, you will go into kind of like specialized areas. So for example, a lot of the stuff that I picked was around Irish history. So you have to do modules on European history and so on. But you only have to do one, and you can pick to do more of them. But I focused on Irish ones. Again, you have to do Irish history, you have to do so many modules of that. The reason being is if you go to teach it, so when I was filling out to become a teacher, I have to have so many credits from different areas of history to be qualified to teach it. So a lot of people in this degree will go on to do teaching, and that's why you're made to do all these things. We weren't actually ever told this, but I think it's just really good information for you to know, so that you're saying, why am I doing early modern European history? I hate it, which I despised it, but I done it and I got through it. And then like my specialism, I focused on kind of like the interwar periods in Ireland, so the Civil War. And again, I had some fantastic lecturers who are always on the television now, especially if we watch different documentaries on like Bloody Sunday. One of my favorite lecturers, William, he talks about it. So watch out for all those different documentaries if you are interested in history, because a lot of the DCU lecturers will be on it.
Yeah, no, fantastic advice there, even about the certain modules that you have to do, because a lot of people, and we'll probably lead on to this in a second, a lot of people do go on to teaching, but maybe subjects like, say, media or humanities that you can't necessarily go, like it's not a leaving cert subject. There might be some more flexibility there in what you can choose to study. But that leads us on to the kind of next topic. So you're currently teaching at the minute. So how did that happen? Is that a common route for many people finishing this degree, or how does that look?
A lot of people will go into teaching. So it was kind of like a joke in Pats that if you didn't get into primary school teaching, you'd done the arts degree. And people are like, oh, arts degree students are wasters. But it just meant that we had a lot of free time and we could do extracurricular activities. So when I first went through the doors of Pats, I was going to have to do teaching. And as Sinead knows, I was ambassador last year. I was involved in loads of different things. And even I was supposed to do a television programme with RTE, and had a great job in Dublin. But COVID brought us all down to our knees, got rid of all our airs and graces, and I was left jobless like many others in the country. So in the school I'm teaching in now, a position was open. They were stuck to find a teacher. So the deputy principal rang me. But because I'm qualified in the subject areas, I'm able to teach it. And I can do that once you're qualified in the subjects. You can teach for 2 years, but then after 2 years, you need to go and do a master's. So next year I'll be doing a master's in education. We're obviously paid a lower rate than a qualified teacher, but the thing about it is it's great experience, folks. So as I said last year, I was definitely, no way am I doing teaching, not a hope, I would hate that. Whereas now I'm teaching a range of subjects. I teach personal development, English and history. And as well, I do work with resource. So I've got a couple of students for resource each week. And we also have a great unit for children with autism in this school. So I do a lot of work with that. So I've gone back down the route of going into teaching. But just in terms of some of the people who done my degree, as like some of them are teaching, others are gone back to study more. So some of them are doing masters in different fields. One of my friends who done English with me, she's doing a master's in DCU at the moment in children's literature. So she's going on to do children's writing. And there's loads of different avenues to go down. So it's not just teaching at all, especially with English. You can go into journalism after it. You can go into marketing. There's loads of different ways. It's a degree that once you have the degree, you can pick any masters or any field to go into. So I was going to go into hospitality after doing my degree, and there was skills that I learned from it that I could use in hospitality, but obviously now I've changed it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. I think there can often be a misconception that arts degrees are just for someone who, you don't know what you want to do. There's no real career prospect from it. But as you described, and honestly, this is the same with any course, you carve your own path from it. And whether you want to go into teaching, the light's gone again, whether you want to go into teaching or go into work, say, for a company, or work in hospitality or entertainment, or whatever you think, you can really decide that through the course, and don't let anyone deter you from doing an arts degree. But equally, if you would like to go into teaching and maybe you're concerned about the points, because the places are quite competitive on, say, primary school teaching, for example, in DCU, a lot of people would use an arts degree, and you can still end up in the same career. It just might take you a year or two longer than going the direct route. But so many different options and lovely broad degrees. So if you're not sure exactly what area you want to go into, an arts degree is absolutely fantastic. You can learn more about 2 areas you have an interest in, and then go from there and see what you want to do. But as you mentioned, there wouldn't be a huge amount of contact hours. You're not going to be in 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And, for a lot of courses, it wouldn't be like that. But for arts degrees, you're not. And you use that time. My goodness, did you use that time well? Thomas was super involved in other areas of college life, which has allowed you to go on and be confident in teaching, to work potentially working on that TV show and doing loads of different things. Do you want to tell the people who are listening a bit about outside of lecture time in DCU and what that can entail?
Well, I spent very little time in the lecture halls. I was always out on the go, and I suppose my first year of college, I was really focused. I was commuting from home because where I live, I'm just outside Dunleer in County Louth. I'm only an hour away. But my degree, when I switched my subjects, it's very few contact hours, but my hours were all over the place. So history was at the time was always early morning lectures. So the lectures were from 10 to maybe 11, 12. And then English lectures were always in the evening. So they didn't start till 4. So I was always in college for this huge chunk of time. So the first year was great. I got loads of essays done and I was on top of my game. And then in the second semester, the student union elections were coming up. And at the time, I had no interest in it. But then I was after doing a campaign called Beg, Borrow, Steal with the college, which was a society event. And the opening of Clubs Officer wasn't filled, so it was rerun again. So someone said to me, "Should you go for it?" And Clubs Officer deals with all sports in the college. And I wasn't an incredibly sporty person. I had interest in it, but I wasn't a big athlete. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." They said, "Go for it, go for it." So I went for it anyway. I got elected, and it was an amazing experience. So I've worked with loads of different people. I've worked with Dr. Niall Moyna, that we all know from Operation Transformation. I helped design new policies for the university. I worked with the health officer, the health promotion officer, sorry. I even worked on a campaign called Smart Consent with a sexologist, and some of you now at school might have even done that active consent. I was also an ambassador, as I said earlier, and that's how I met the lovely Sinead. And even I worked at Shite Nights, which is a big night, like a night out. And then I went on to work in Copperface Jacks. So I was constantly doing things, throwing myself into it. And from that, I've built a huge bank of contacts. So one of the classes I'm teaching at the minute for transition years is personal development. And like that, it's something that it's up to the teacher what they want to do for it. So every week I'm actually kind of doing what you're probably doing now in 6th year. You're looking at different courses. So I pick someone in a different field. I'm sorry, Sinead, I haven't rang you yet.
That's okay. I'll await my call.
But I'm ringing people. Like a friend of mine yesterday, she didn't know she got eat free, but now she's working at Pennies as a purchaser. I had somebody who's a maths teacher. I had someone who's doing accounting, who's also into athletics. So the biggest thing about college is building contacts. So when you finish, you'll have contacts from all over the country who can help you on different projects and different things. So get involved. When you get through the doors of DCU or wherever you end up, get involved. Submerge yourself in that university culture, because you never know who you're going to meet and how they might help you in the future.
Absolutely. And as we keep saying, the CV is always very important. Like, the degree is one thing, and whether you graduate with a degree in computing or business or arts, there's going to be a lot of other people who graduate with that same degree, not only from the university that you're in, or further education, whatever you choose to do, but the whole country and the world. So if you can differentiate yourself in that regard and have experience organizing an event for DCU, or doing a campus tour, working as a student ambassador, that will all help to get you where you want to be. We'll remind you guys that there is a Q&A if you do want to ask Thomas anything as we come into the last couple of minutes. One thing that often comes up with arts degrees is the perception that, say, the points are low because it's not that hard or whatever, but really the points are supply and demand. So we offer a lot of places on our arts degrees, and that's why the points are lower, is because we can let more students in, basically. Any tips at the minute for 6th years who might be considering and weighing their options? What was a couple of things that maybe helped you when you were making your decision on where to go to university?
I suppose it was a number of things. One was I didn't want to move up. So for me, it was somewhere where it was close by. So if I had to travel to Maynooth, it would have been an extra hour on. So that's one factor. But also, in terms of that, DCU was still far enough away that when I wanted to, I could move up. All right. And if I had to stay at home for the 3 years, I wouldn't have gotten the experience that I did. I know it is a huge financial cost on families and that. And I myself, I'm not from a privileged background at all. I went to a deaf school. I'm from a large enough family with only one income. But I worked the whole way through from the age I was 14 to save up, and I was able to move to college. Also, I looked at some of the modules that I'd be doing, and sort of the lecturers as well. So see where the lecturers' fields of interest are. So for example, just on the note of history, something that I looked at but I actually didn't end up doing was archaeology. So there's a brilliant lecturer there in DCU called Matthew Stout. He's fantastic. And he'll actually bring you on archaeological digs in the summertime if you're interested in that. The likes of Leanne Lane as well in history. She's huge all on like kind of the women movement and that. So if you're interested in that, go for that. Same with Victorian. Victorian was an area as well I like the look of. Marnie Hay is a kind of Irish and also a bit of American lecturer. Same with William. There's loads. So look at the courses, look at the different lectures. If you go on to the DCU website and actually look up the schools, so it might actually say straight away on it who's given the course or who's given that lecture or that module. But if you look it up and you see Matthew Stout, look up the School of Geography and History or whichever school you're going to. So a university is made up of different schools. So for our degree, there's a School of Music, there's a School of Music and Theology, School of English, School of Human Development, School of History and Geography, and I'm sure School of Music as well. So each department are kind of their own schools. And the reason geography and history are combined is because they're very close in nature, kind of the lecturers given the topics. But if you look them schools up, you'll see the different lecturers and see what they've done. And a lot of times you'll find your interest within them and you'll have similar interests. And once you have that, you'll be really engaged and interested in it.
Yeah, we'd say absolutely what Thomas said. Certainly just do a bit of research, have a look, and even, as you said, check out the commute, see how the bus routes are, the train routes, what suit you, the modules, the lectures, and just about the university. And if you feel that it's a good match for you, we put as much information as possible on dcu.ie/CAO. That is videos of campus tours of specific modules. We even have taster lectures there if you were interested in the area, and you can have a look and see what it would be like to actually sit in an online lecture for it. So just before we finish up, again, any last minute Q&As, speak now or forever hold your peace. We'll let Thomas finish off, probably corrected in some essays or anything. But to finish off on a nice note, could you pick one favorite memory from your time in DCU? It's such a difficult question.
That's so hard. The one thing that I loved about DCU, and I've been there through the pandemic, and it's like gut wrenching, but I suppose because I was so involved in DCU and even on the campus, walking through, whether it's the gates of Pat's or passing the Helix in DCU or walking up the avenue towards Newbar, there's hundreds and hundreds of people on campus every day. But once you get immersed in the student lifestyle, you get to know all these people. So I've loads and loads of contacts from it, like Sinead. And walking, you could never walk more than 100 meters without meeting someone and having a chat and like someone waving at you. And I suppose that's one of my favorite things about DCU. I've hundreds of memories, like with Sinead, my favorite picture is our Scooby-Doo picture. And we've loads of those fantastic moments, and the lights are about to go again. But whenever you get to college, or like you might get there next year, it might not be for another year or two, make the most of it. And make the most of your lecture time, make the most of your lectures. I suppose now I realize I wish I'd maybe done a wee bit more for that I'm teaching. But like 3 or 4 years seem like a lifetime. And it feels like 2 minutes ago, I was sitting where you are in uniforms. Well, obviously we're not in uniforms now, in a classroom with all my friends, wondering what's going to happen next year. And just also in terms for 6 years, because I know I'm teaching 6 years for myself, and I know you're all so anxious about it. But most important thing is, if predictive grades go ahead or not, just keep working, keep your head down. Your teachers are helping you the best they can. The reason being is, I know some people last year who have gotten into the courses that they wanted, but they would have put their feet up the minute that it was announced predictive grades. And now they feel themselves a wee bit of a back foot, because when you go into university, it is a bit harder. So work with your teachers. The teachers now are giving you as much information by doing English comparatives, by doing history essays, by doing woodwork projects, whatever projects they are. You're learning incredible life skills, and they'll all help you throughout college. And even when you get into the big bad world like myself and Sinead, everything you learn at school now and everything you learn in university, it's the simple little things that you learn. You don't even realize you're learning it. So just keep working as hard as you can, and it will turn out okay for you. It does get better, I promise.
Oh, you couldn't have said it better, Thomas. And here at DCU, we're trying as best as we can to help you with that. So whether you have the tiniest question or the biggest essay of a question, please do get in touch and let us know. We will continue running these sessions for as long as we need to. We'll cover every course under the sun. And as I said, if you do want to get in contact with us, you can get us at studenthelp@dcu.ie. That was the email address that you got that link sent to. And maybe if you have specific questions for Thomas in a couple of days, weeks, months, we might be able to forward them on, and you can give us an answer. But Thomas, thank you so much for that really insightful look into an arts degree in DCU. You'd almost have me convinced now if I had to go back and change. But thank you so much for taking your time. Thank you for everyone who tuned in today, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks a million, folks.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.